What's your name?
I'm Alexander Reben, and I'm going to talk a bit about how I take art and technology to look at humanity, including things like robotics. So I'm going to talk about a few of these ideas and a few works that go around them, and how we can find a bit more about ourselves through them. So starting with intimacy in robotics. So these guys are the blab droids, and they've been traveling around the world the past few years being autonomous documentary filmmakers. So they've entirely shot and directed films by themselves. And people have opened up to them in interesting ways, which you may think is silly to begin with, but I'll show a few examples of what people have done. So originally I was looking at human-robot symbiosis, so how people and robots can work together. So for example, getting up a set of stairs for that robot's really hard, but we have these nifty things called legs, and stairs are made for people, not for robots. There are other difficult problems in robotics, like mapping. So if a robot had to find, say, the restroom here, it'd be a very difficult problem. But what if you asked a person for help? How would you go about doing that? Oh, lost the audio.
I need help. If you can help me, press the green button on the side of my head.
So that's Boxy. Boxy roamed around MIT asking people for help, and Boxy used cuteness in order to get help. You can see a bit of a relationship here. So things like the little eyes, the slight smile, the fact that it was small and its head was big. These are all things that we see internally as cute, and it's universal between everyone. So actually we started building it out of plastic, and you can see here it's a little creepy. Then we went to something that you usually don't make robots out of, which is cardboard, but cardboard's something that people are very comfortable with. It's very organic. So this is a design you would use for robots that interact with people. And again, you wouldn't do something like program a robot usually to get stuck, but if you want to look helpless, that's exactly what you would do. So here's Boxy getting itself stuck on a table leg on purpose. Sometimes it would flip itself over on a wall and wiggle around and ask people to come over and help it. So these are all different ways to elicit people to come over. So something interesting really happens. This was a runner from the Boston Marathon who walked into the lab, and he was laying down on the floor in front of the robot, telling the robot all his problems, how his flight was canceled, and people were walking around him watching him talk to this robot. Now, you wouldn't do that with a stranger. A stranger would think you're crazy if you started talking to them out of the blue. Other people did some other things that the robot asked them to do, like dance. I don't know if you would dance for a robot, but people did. So really pushing things. So you can see on the right here, Boxy, which is sort of generation 1, and Blabdroid on the left, sort of generation 3. And you're about to see some films that the robots have shot, so you don't have to take my word for it.
Hello. I'm being interviewed by a robot.
I'm going to ask you some questions. Who do you love most in the world?
My mom.
I love my mom.
My wife.
What will people remember you for?
A little bit crazy, freaky, generous, small.
Tell me something that you've never told a stranger before.
I'm not really Chinese.
That I've had plastic surgery.
I just saw a dead cat wrapped in a blanket. I did. You want to see it? Dead cat in a blanket. No one likes it.
If you died tomorrow, what would you regret the most?
Spending time worrying.
Not loving the people that I've loved fully.
What does regret mean? If you could give someone any gift, what would it be?
To give my mother the gift of not worrying about me before she dies. And she wants me to lose like a ton of weight and get really, really healthy. And she needs to see that before she dies for her to feel like I'm gonna be okay when she's not here. And I wish I could give her that, and I'm not positive I can. You asked.
If you died tomorrow, what would you regret the most?
I switched out her shampoo for a Nair hair remover when she wasn't looking, and clumps of her hair fell out I felt that she deserved it, and it's very much so justified. And I would do it again to her in a heartbeat. I still don't like her.
So these are all people opening up to a cardboard box with a smile. So looking at other robots, like pleasure, what could we do with pleasure?
I thought, ooh, this is good.
Like that.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. I want one of these. Down to the left. Come on.
Love that guy's face.
Not quite as relaxing as a massage chair.
Oh, wait, now it just stopped. Is it gonna come back?
So some interesting things there. It's an unusual sensation. Most people don't know what it means to be pleasured by a robot yet. So I wanted to think of a very non-sexual way to do that. And again, this is a place where strangers don't usually touch you. People are unsure how to feel. They got up and be like, I can't believe a robot just made me feel like that. So these are interesting things. How would you cause pain with a machine or a robot that wouldn't? Yeah, it's pretty awful. I cut that one short intentionally there. So people have a visceral reaction to this, right? Almost a flight response. People started cursing me as well. But it's really something that's interesting. It's almost a universal between everyone that things like that are very repulsive. Again, how do you bring people into temptation? How would you draw someone in with a device that they couldn't resist? So covering a wall with doorstops is pretty much the way to go about it. Everyone from children to adults really couldn't help themselves but to go up and need to touch these things. And they sort of questioned afterwards how much control that actually had over them. They had to go at it like moths to a light. They couldn't help it, and some of them just couldn't stop. Again, these are things that people look back and ask themselves, why did that just happen? And getting people to experience emotions is also another important thing. How do you get the people to reflect on things? So this is an interesting game that does that.
The emotion was chill, and I didn't think of anything. I thought of nothing.
Cool sunsets, sunrises. The first time I was down here when we were at the beach, I got like tons of pictures and stuff.
I was thinking about bunnies chewing crackers.
My target emotion was lust, and I was thinking of passion and desire.
My targeted emotion was rage.
I play a lot of video games and I get mad at that a lot.
My emotion was bliss, and I got there by looking at my nephew competing against me and smiling.
My grandfather, my sister, and actually my dancing family. But at the same time, I knew what the balloon was about to pop, so I was giggling.
It's an interesting way to get people to be a bit more introspective. Life is an important thing. We've heard a bit about AI and intelligent systems, but I wanted to make something that appeared to be alive, but was quite simple. So here you see a hamster ball and another ball inside, and the ball inside just has a weighted motor that moves around. But when you put a sphere inside another sphere, you get basically what's called a double chaotic pendulum. So when you put this thing on the ground, it moves around and it appears to make decisions. So you'll see when it gets to like a chair or a corner, it looks like it's figuring it out and it's going to turn around and leave. But there's no sensors, there's no programming, there's nothing inside besides a motor that's continuously spinning. And what we do as humans, we project ourselves onto these things. So we view it as again, making these decisions, moving around. And I think that's an important thing to understand as technology gets more complex, is just how much humanity we project onto it, especially as it actually does make decisions. It actually is going to be smart. You can see it's getting a little frustrated there. And when people view these things, they do give them emotions. They give them, well, this guy is figuring it out, right? So we want to create explanations for these things that happen, even though it is pretty much purely randomness of what happens in there. And the next thing is another simple machine that is similar. These two balloons are electrically attracted and repelled using static electricity. But if you watch them for a little bit, they'll start to take on these interesting personalities. When the humidity is really low, they're quite violent, or when it's high, they're a bit more nuzzly and kissy. But again, it's simple electric attraction and repulsion. There's no intelligence in that machine, but we view it as actions and moving around. So yeah, some of the interesting things found out of there is that we anthropomorphize things. We give them human traits. We think there's intelligence in things which there may not be. We project our own personal feelings on these. So I had one woman ask me if the balloons were about two people having a domestic dispute, right? They're sort of fighting and pushing against each other. Really, there's no context there. So moving on to ethics, there's Asimov's first law, which is fictional, but I think it's a good law. It says robots may not injure a human or through an action allow a human to come to harm. So why not make a robot that does that? So the important thing here is this robot actually decides to do that or not in a way that I couldn't predict as the creator. But it's a simple way. All right, so to wrap everything up, wrapping up with death, I think is a good thing. So I'm just going to let this run, and you can see how you feel about it. Thank you.